I stay bout it, I'm not pouting. Break through walls and climb it mountains. If you want it, scream it loud and show this world what they've been doubting. Never waiting on the world to catch up to me. Leave it in the rear view. I wish that it was up to me. The world would never fear new.
Okay, welcome back to the Braintainment Show. Today I'm joined by one of Australia's favourite fitness and lifestyle personalities, successful entrepreneur, bachelor favourites, and now husband to his beautiful wife, Snezna, and father to 3 wonderful kids. And of course, the creator of 28 by Sam Wood, Australia's #1 online fitness and nutrition program. This show is largely about exploring ways to optimize ourselves to allow for a far more enriching life. I talk a lot about on this show. And to do that, I think there's 3 really important pillars to get right. And that's how we move our body, of course, what we put into our body, how we fuel it, and perhaps most importantly, how we train our mind and stay motivated. And so now, having helped over 100,000 folks transform their lives in those three important ways I just outlined, I'm excited to connect with this man today to talk all things physical and mental conditioning, learn a bit more about his story, and really provide a lot of value for you guys tuning in. So with that said, mate, thanks for carving out the time today to chat with me today, Sam.
G'day, Liam. My absolute pleasure, mate. Nice to talk with you.
So we'll pick apart some really important ideas and strategies, around getting in shape and optimizing our mindset and motivation, all that good stuff. Ultimately, feeling good, which is the North Star I talk a lot about on the show. But just to kick things off, mate, perhaps just give us a highlights reel of your story. How do you ultimately end up becoming such a prolific and popular fitness personality? And I suppose what led you into that space in the first place?
Look, it's a bit of a cliche, but I think it's kind of, 20 years to become an overnight success is probably the best way of putting it. I've been, I was 40 this year, and I literally had my first gym job when I was 20. So it has been a 20-year journey in the fitness industry. And it's interesting, obviously most people know me from The Bachelor. That's kind of where my profile really grew, being on that TV show, and since then 5 years ago. But I definitely think it's that, the last 5 years have been a culmination of the sort of 15 years before that, working as a personal trainer, studying at university, working with athletes, opening Australia's first ever kids gym. And then, when all of that kind of came together with such a fast growing profile and launching an online program, it's just been incredible, this crazy roller coaster over the last 5 years, to how many people have done the program, the results that they've been able to receive, the way our community has grown. In your introduction, you said 100,000 people. It's nearly half, it's actually now nearly 500,000 people.
Wow.
So it's our 5th birthday on the 1st of Feb 2021, and we will be past 500,000 people by that stage that have done my program. And I just sort of pinch myself when I think back to how it all started. It was just me in my gym office with, a web developer and nutritionist, and we put the program together to how it's evolved now to 30 full-time staff, working out of our 28 headquarters here down in Melbourne. And with the explosion of online digital fitness, particularly this year with what's happened in the world, and people understanding how beneficial a great online program can be for body and mind, I really do feel like we're just getting started.
Yeah, mate, that's awesome. It's been really cool to watch from afar and see the platform grow. Just really quickly, actually, did you have to pivot a fair bit with the whole COVID situation throughout 2020, or did you find that you already had, such a presence, I suppose, online that you were able to kind of just tweak a couple of things and still really add the value that you're trying to add for everyone that gets involved?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely needed to change our messaging to make sure we were giving people what they needed when they needed it, particularly adding mindfulness and meditations and resilience training and some other mental health aspects to the program. But we were really fortunate in the fact that we've always been an at-home program. I'm a big believer that if you try to be everything to everyone, you end up being nothing to no one. So we've always focused on an at-home program that suits people that either don't have a lot of time, don't like the gym, mums that want to train at home. And when they realise you can get great results in 28 minutes training from home, that becomes a a really, really powerful community, supportive community, and people love staying on the program. So we were really fortunately positioned. I mean, it feels weird having a business that grows so much during such a crappy year for the rest of the world, but we really saw it more of a responsibility than an opportunity. We had a responsibility to help people at home when they needed it most, working from home, lockdown, all this kind of stuff down here in Melbourne. Snej and I ran live workouts every morning, live streamed through Facebook and YouTube. And I think we had 3 million people join us for live workouts over a 5-month lockdown period. Kids, mums, teachers, schools. It was just awesome.
That is bloody fantastic that you're able to pivot and still have the impact you're trying to have. So I think you talk a lot, mate. You talk about how wanting to help people move more, eat better, and make positive change. It all sounds like great things, but I guess what I want to know from you, mate, what are some of the challenges that you see that get in the way? So in terms of, why doesn't everyone live this kind of lifestyle? What are some of the societal challenges that you see kind of get in the way, I suppose? And then maybe on a personal level, is it limiting beliefs? Is it a mindset thing? What are some of the hurdles?
Oh, look, so much of it comes back to the mind. I'm a big believer that if you get the mind in the right position, your body will follow. And unless you actually do that, you're not really going to last very long. I think back even to a personal trainer. Once I reached about the age of 23 and I had a lot more confidence dealing with the clientele that I was dealing with, I'd actually, if we'd be sitting in our initial meeting, I'd say to them, look, I don't think you're actually ready. And I'd send them off. They'd come in and say, I want to do this and I want to do that. And the first time I'd say, well, okay, if you want to achieve X, Y, and Z, you're going to need to make this commitment or that sacrifice, or, stop drinking 5 days a week, or whatever it might be. Stop drinking 10 cups of coffee a day, 4 hours sleep isn't enough. Everyone's got their own sort of nemesis or multiple. And if they weren't prepared to even entertain that idea, I'd say to them, look, I absolutely want to work with you. I absolutely want to help you, but you're not ready. And when a 23-year-old kid says that to a 50-year-old CEO of a company or something, they kind of, F you, who do you think you are type thing. But 99 times out of 100, they'll ring you back a week later and they'll say, thanks. Like, I can see that you were doing it for me. You weren't doing it for you. You're turning away a paying customer. And so from an online perspective, it's kind of taking that same learning into that digital world. I think you got to have a plan, and I hope my program gives that to people, or at least helps create the framework. You need to accept that motivation is going to be temporary, and that almost no one bounces out of bed every morning highly motivated, and they're not just the people that get results.
Even you, mate, you always seem like you got a big smile.
Even me. I'm probably better than most, but I have my days. I definitely have my days. With a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, I've had some grumpy, sleepless mornings in the last couple of years. But you got to say to people, you got to be. It's the days that you do the workout when you're feeling the worst that are actually the most powerful workouts. It's the fact that you're looking at the overall well-being and not just the fitness side of things. You're doing some stuff for your sleep and your mental health. You're eating well, and it really is a case of 1 + 1 = 5. When the three come together, that's really, really powerful how it multiplies. So I think, and then I think the other thing is, and this is what I always thought when I viewed other online programs before I had my own, was they're so intense. They're kind of all or nothing, my way or the highway. And I didn't really like that. I thought that's going to work. You're going to get great results with a very small percentage of the people that try your program, and 95% of people are not going to make it. And, my philosophy is progress, not perfection. So don't start a New Year's resolution and try and do a 20K run on day one and nearly kill yourself. Don't think to yourself, you got to deprive yourself of all your favorite foods and never be able to have a beer or a glass of wine again. It's about moderation and just doing things sensibly in a sustainable manner. And as soon as it's just common sense, but as soon as it's explained to people and they have that sort of light bulb moment that I actually can still drop considerable weight really quickly, get fitter, get stronger, feel better, have more energy, and I can still eat chocolate and drink wine, and I don't have to exercise every day like an Olympic athlete, that's when you have the real breakthrough, because that's when you have that sustainable change and actually go, oh, this is not a diet or a fad or a quick fix. This is something I could genuinely stick to. And I'm sure I'm going to have ups and downs like we all do, but most of the time I'm going to be taking pretty good care of myself.
Yeah, mate, it makes sense. And I really like that approach. I think I've heard you talk a lot about as well, the progress, not perfection. And I think that lens to look at it through, it really makes it a lot more easier to stay consistent, I suppose. And have you found that's been really helpful for the people that you work with when you do, inevitably have an off day, or whether, you have a cheat meal, whatever it might be? We're not perfect. We are human beings after all. Have you found that approach makes it easier to get back on the horse, so to speak, and not judge ourselves, and rather just look at that as a momentary slip, but instead be far more focused on kind of the net result, I suppose? So over a year, as long as we're consistently, working towards whatever that goal may be, and it'll vary for people, but as long as we're making net progress, do you think that approach really gives people a lot more confidence in their ability to kind of follow through on what they should be doing?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first of all, it makes the process much more enjoyable. But second of all, mate, I do heaps of work with our 28ers on, a bad meal or a missed workout is just that. It's a bad meal. That's it. Forget about it. Move on. Don't make it 10 times worse by beating yourself up about it, or worse still, because I ate McDonald's, that's it. I'm over. I'm done. Like, get up the next day, have a healthy breakfast, get yourself moving, and all of a sudden you're back on track. And even if you have a bad week or a bad month, it's amazing how powerful our body is. We kind of only need a couple of good days of eating and a couple of consecutive days of moving our body to remind both our body and brain, get those endorphins kicking in, get the energy levels up, get the mood up. All of a sudden we've reminded ourselves just how good it feels, and we do it, like you said, we get back on the horse. And I think, you just see too many people with these weight loss programs either have extreme results and then nothing and put all the weight back on and usually more, or they yo-yo up and down for years. And so many people that join my program, that's their history, and they almost come in, it's like their last ditch effort. They don't even, part of them doesn't even believe that this time is going to be different. And then when they finally have a really good month and go, actually, I could get going with this, and then string 3 months together and 6 months together, the average, the 28er spends more than a year. The average 28er spends more than a year on my program, and that's kind of increasing all the time the older we get. So, it's 28 days is more, the 28 is more about, it's a 28-minute workout, which is less than that 30-minute sort of psychological barrier. And let's just focus on the first 28 days to get you into these good habits. And then you'll be amazed you can carry it on, because too many people set these crazy goals. I got to lose 60 kilos in a year. So let's just lose 5 kilos in a month. Yep. And then see what happens. And you're so much stronger, more resilient. You've got so much more self-belief once you achieve that first smaller goal. And before you know it, you've lost 20 kilos in 4 months, and that 40-kilo goal feels so much more achievable.
Yeah, I find that, having that confidence to really take action is key, whether it's fitness, health, trying to start a business, whatever it is. If it's something new or something daunting, there's always going to be some level of anxiety. But I find if it's too daunting, this is from my personal experience, and, a similar message to what you're sharing, I've had from folks on the program. If it's too daunting, then it's almost like this human condition to just not take action, because we want to take a path of least resistance. And if we don't believe something's going to be fruitful. But yeah, like you said, if you kind of break it down and go, rather than trying to lose 60 kilos in a couple of weeks or put on 60 kilos, whatever your goal might be, what can I do in the next, the next month? What can I do in this 28-minute program? What can I do right now? And I find once that becomes a lot more believable, yeah, shit, I could actually probably do that. That makes sense. You almost act in accordance with that belief. And I find that's been true for me and people that I've spoken to. And I imagine with some of the people that are coming through the program, they probably look at that, breaking their goals down as a way to really connect with a level of belief to then do the work. Does that kind of make sense?
No, mate, it does. And I think it is daunting. And I think if you can show some empathy and some understanding that you get that, you can connect with the people you work with so much better. If you're walking around with your six pack and like, it's just, I don't get why you're out of shape, I don't think that relates to people at all. I think it's much better if you can say, getting in shape isn't easy. If it was, 60% of the country wouldn't be overweight or obese. It's clearly not easy, but it can be simpler than what you've probably made in your head. It can be less intimidating or less daunting than perhaps, what you've conjured up in your head after, the anxiety, the fear, the frustration of trying to do it before and it not working out. So breaking it down and simplifying it and just getting them to focus on, a lot of the 28ers, it's like, okay, 3 healthy meals a day might be too big a jump. You're going from eating heaps of takeaway food to drinking lots of soft drink. Let's just focus on breakfast. Let's get our breakfast right. If the 28-minute workouts are too hard, you do that every second day and you walk every other day. And all of a sudden they're like, I've dropped 5 kilos and I've changed my breakfast and I've done your workouts 3 days a week. Now I can do 5 workouts a week. Now I can look at my dinners, whatever it might be. Now I can look at my water intake. But it's just building blocks. If you try and go, you got to do all of this starting tomorrow, and you're coming from a 1 out of 10 or a really low base, it's just way too hard. It's too overwhelming. It's too much to think about. People just put in the too hard basket and they're kind of gone before they even get started. I do a lot of sort of coaching, and we have motivation experts and mindfulness experts and nutritionists and all these other experts on the program that let's just build you up slowly. Let's think about where you're going to be in 6 months' time, not where you need to be in 6 days' time.
Yeah, I agree aggressively. It reminds me of the adage of, I think it's complexity is the thief of execution, right? So keeping things simple, you'll do what's required and you'll see progress. And then funnily enough, those building blocks of progress will probably then start to reshape, our identity, and we slowly but surely start seeing ourselves as a healthy person, as a fit person. And, you touched on it at the start, like it's, if the folks that come across you, from the TV program, they don't see the 20 years of work and effort that goes into, getting to that stage of fitness and obviously in your business as well. So yeah, those small steps are huge. Mate, you just touched on there some of the folks you've brought on to help in the programs, in the psychological space, just to help with that mindset element. I think I saw that you had some meditations from Hamish Blake as well, who's a buddy of yours. Yeah, talk me through that, how that all comes together and what their role is from the mindset side of things, and then how the program with Hamish came along as well.
Yeah, I think you got to understand what you're good at and what you're an expert at. You also need to understand what you're not an expert at, and not sort of try to be everything. So, I'm getting there slowly from a personal perspective from meditation, but I'm by no means a meditation expert. So we have psychologists and other, we've got 2 psychologists that work with the program, one who's a specialist in mindfulness and another one's a specialist in body image, sort of helping people gain body confidence and, sort of shift their mindset towards how they look when they see themselves, and probably just as importantly, how they can slowly but surely not compare themselves to others, because that's such a huge problem in today's world, particularly with social media and all these other platforms that can be our sort of best friend or worst enemy depending on how we choose to use them. But same with nutrition, same with sleep experts, same with motivation experts, and then with Hamish, my own experiences with meditation, where I always had it pigeonholed in my head that you had to almost be sitting on a cliff top, sitting in the clouds and escape for 3 hours to get any benefit from some kind of mindfulness practice. And the more I started doing it, the more I realized you could just do a 5-minute piece to help you get to sleep. You could do stuff to help you sort of de-stress or focus or, center your breathing, or just sitting in the car when you got home from a crazy day, something to calm you before you go into the house, whatever it might be. And I just thought we need to find a way where we can make mindfulness more relatable to people, because I feel like I'm not the only one who perhaps thinks of it like this and avoids it because they've kind of got a the wrong perception of it. So I reached out to Hamish and said, mate, I know you're not a mindfulness teacher, but he's really passionate about this kind of thing. He practices it himself. He's an incredibly intelligent, deep human being with a very big heart. And I said, mate, I'd love you to read. We'll get them written by a psychologist, but we'd love you to read them, because I think the sense of humour, the relatability that you can help sort of encourage people to do them. He's like, yeah, mate, he's happy to. So we jumped in the studio, and, he can't help but be funny. He's hilarious, whether he's trying to be or not. But it's just beautiful. Like, the feedback was amazing. Like, I never would have tried mindfulness, but I saw it was Hamish, and it was a 5-minute piece, and it kind of made me laugh. It made me smile, and it did exactly what we were hoping it would do. It shifted people's attitude towards meditation and towards mindfulness practice. And, we encourage our 28ers, when they go on my app, you get your breakfast, lunch and dinner, you get your workout every day. You can choose between your HIIT, your yoga and your Pilates and your running. But then you've also got a mindfulness piece, which is, it's either education, sleep, meditation or motivation, and you can sort of choose between the 4 pieces to which of those for the day, if not all of them, you kind of want to read up on or listen to a podcast or whatever it might be. And I just think once people start to give their mind more love, their whole life gets better. You just got to make the time and get into those good habits.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the reason I put that to you as well, I want to learn a bit more about how the Hamish Connect came along, was I really like your approach around making things fun. You talk about that a lot as well. And I think, at the end of the day, getting in shape and eating the right things is ultimately to feel a certain way, right? To sort of take care of the biological side of things and make sure the body's working away. So, the right neurochemistry takes place, but then, looking after the mind in the right way. It's all to feel good, to enjoy life, right? So that's enjoyed and not endured. And I think that's why I really like your approach. Just to come back to the 28 program, do they vary in terms of what workouts you can do? So if someone's listening or tuning in, they're wondering what to expect, their goals may vary to the next person. It might be to lose weight, it might be to gain weight, it may be to, shape their body a certain way. It may just be to feel better. So are there different programs to look at for different results?
Yeah, the majority of people want to tone up, build strength, burn fat. So, but at the same time, some people are at the right weight, and so they just want to strengthen and tone or build muscle. So we have a weight loss program, we have a healthy weight maintenance program, and we have a specialist pregnancy program and postnatal program. And then when you choose your goal, you can then choose your level. So we've got 5 different fitness levels and a low impact option. So if you want to be able to select workouts that don't have those high impact movements, if you're a bit older or you've got back issues or knee issues, but you're still, because the hard thing for those people is they never start anything because it's all too hard. So you've got to get those people, building their strength, building their confidence back up. And also, if you're carrying extra weight, you're loading up your joints with that extra weight too. So if you can build the strength around your joints and drop 10, 20 kilos, it's amazing how much better your body feels. So yeah, there's absolutely, it's customized the whole way through, whether you're vegetarian, vegan, pescatarian, gluten-free, what allergies, whatever it is, it's a fully sort of bespoke, customized experience. And then from a tech perspective, I'm not a tech guy, but it's me always talking to my tech team about how do we continue to personalize their experience? If they're listening to far more podcasts, how do we serve them the podcast that we think they'll like listening to based on other podcasts that they've listened to? Or if they're clearly choosing all these smoothies from our summer eating plan, how do we say, here's our new pine lime smoothie we thought you might like to try because we've seen you love our smoothie. So it's all about kind of understanding what that person is clearly drawn to and then giving them more of that without them sort of having to think, like your Spotify does. Here's a band or a musician we thought you might like based on other artists that you like and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I like it. Well, mate, feel free to push this podcast into them if if they're going to get some value.
Yeah, you bet, mate. You bet.
um, I mentioned at the top there, your time on The Bachelor. You connect with Snez, of course, and from what I can see from afar, anyway, mate, she's had a pretty big impact for you, and for what it seems, anyway, pretty heavily involved in the fitness space with you now too, as well. I'd love to hear your thoughts around that. So what role has she played for you personally? What role has she played in the business? And then what's been the impact of, obviously having your three wonderful kids?
Mate, how do I say it without underplaying it? I mean, she's had the biggest impact on my life, bar anyone, and that will always be the case. She, I wouldn't say she saved my life, but I was okay. It's funny. I don't think I knew what I was missing until I found it. Like I can't believe how much more complete and happy my life feels now with Snez in it, and the kids, of course, which wouldn't be there without Snez, so it's from a, first and foremost, she's my wife and the love of my life, and, that absolutely takes precedence over our sort of business relationship, but 28 is fairly all-encompassing, and my 28ers are my sort of extended family, and therefore our extended family, and I think they love the relatability of how hard it is to get sleep when you've got little kids, or how hard it is to get that home workout in when you've got a little toddler climbing on your head, or whatever it is. And we just try and keep it real and as authentic as possible. I think trying to put on a facade that isn't really how your life is, one, it's exhausting, and two, it doesn't really do those people any favors. We've always sort of prided ourselves on just keeping it real, showing them inside our house, inside our life, and that's just been what sort of worked for us. It tends to be the right fit. It allows you to be yourself. And Snez has been absolutely integral with 28. She's done the program almost since day one. She's done the pregnancy and postnatal programs through the birth of Charlie and Willow. She's always giving brilliant sort of feedback to the challenges that mums face, and she tests all the recipes, and she's a wonderful cook, and her office is just next to my office. Like, we do a lot of really sort of nice stuff together, and it allows us to spend a lot of time together, which we love. So it's balancing that with lockdown and looking after kids and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, mate, it's been a game changer, us getting together. I can't believe it was 5 years ago. It feels like about 6 months.
That's so good. Just following up from that then, Sam, I want to talk about values. I've heard you talk about it once. I don't know if it was a podcast or just something I came across. And it's just something that's been really important to me in recent times, is trying to identify what's actually important and what's not. And it seems, you've got a pretty good understanding of what is important to you. Obviously, your wife and your kids, and then you've got your business, but then you've got ways that you want to show up as a man and what have you. And for me, I've started that process of trying to identify what are my values, because then it makes decision-making a lot easier. We were just talking before about, trying to put on a show. It's exhausting, and it doesn't feel right if it's not you. So maybe, you can digest that into, like, maybe transparency is important. So could you maybe just share some of your thoughts around how important it is to have clear values, and maybe what some of those are that help you kind of make decisions, or just turn up in the world in a way that feels right?
Yeah, I mean, after going through such a kind of crazy life experience, I think it was interesting. A lot of people that go on the reality TV shows and that kind of thing, you see them go, they kind of crave the spotlight, and like, I've done lots of stuff from it, but I haven't really chased any of it. For me, the fact that I had a fitness business for 15 years prior meant I could just go back to doing what I was really passionate about. So that kind of allowed me to be authentic, and the fact that it's been so successful, I'm so grateful for, because I haven't had to kind of pivot and try and do something else just to capitalize on this TV show. And then becoming a dad sort of has changed everything. Like, I'm still not all the way there, as in I'm all the way there as a dad, but I'm still a bit, I still struggle to let go of work a bit much. That's something that I'm continually trying to work on. I sort of bring my work home with me a lot, and I'm getting better at it all the time. But switching off and slowing down are two things that I'm not great at. So I'm really trying to work on those. Take time off over Christmas and that kind of stuff without checking the emails and all that. But for me, really, it's been becoming a husband, becoming a dad, the importance of family, and just then being true to who you are. Like, I think, nothing worse than these people that you meet, they're one way on their social media or in front of people, then behind closed doors, you can sort of tell or you hear that they're a total different person to that. And for me, I just, I don't really care if you like me or don't like me, as long as I'm comfortable with who I sort of was putting out there. That's sort of what's most important to me. And more, my friends and my family, like that's the most important thing. I remember getting back from the show and you get invited to all this crap, and all I wanted to do was spend time with my closest friends and closest family that knew, had known me well before the show and will know me in 50 years' time. And you kind of just crave hanging out with those people even more than before.
Yeah, for sure. We're talking off air about some of the stuff that I want to do with the Braintainment show in terms of bleeding real important ideas into culture is what I talk about a lot. And a large part of that is trying to penetrate through this comparison game that we see in of such a virtual world. And you touched on it before in this chat about the self-comparison on so many different levels, and it just serves no real purpose. It doesn't advance you any further in life, and it just makes you feel shit in the moment. So I really like what you've touched on there. I've got a couple more for you, Sam, and then I'll let you go. Sure. Just want to get your thoughts on a couple of things, I suppose. Firstly, for you, mates, what are some of your biggest fears? And I think this will give some insight into you as a person and make it even more relatable, because everyone struggles with something. So don't know if that's something you've thought about at all, but I thought I'd just put that to you. What are some of your biggest fears?
It's I don't know. I mean, it's funny. Like as a dad, one of the sort of scary things is when you love so much, you become a little bit, like just the health of your kids and that kind of stuff is probably something that weirdly bounces around in my head. Just my own mortality to want to spend, want to see them grow up, and obviously their sort of well-being and safety. I think it's something, I guess, in more recent years has been bounced around in my head that never had before. I've never really thought about death or, anything like that. I'm not saying I'm scared of death. I definitely would think about it more now, as probably I'm 40 years old and just taking care of myself and getting checked up and making sure that I live a long, prosperous life to be able to see my kids grow up. From a business perspective, I think if I'm being truly honest, when something rises so quickly, there's always that fear that what if it crashes? And it's particularly in a tech business where that can totally explode, which our business, I wouldn't say it's exploded, but it's been a very sharp, amazing rise. And something I'm so proud of. I just, there's a part of me that wants to leave a bit of a legacy, I reckon, Liam. I don't want to ever be thought of as the bachelor guy who had a fitness program. Like, I want to be thought of as the guy who, changed the health of Australia, if not different parts of the world, with a program that helped millions and millions of people. So I really do want to leave a significant legacy behind, and that's something that I'm kind of proud of where we've come from, but I'm always chasing that next step because I definitely don't feel like we're there yet. So, I guess fear of perhaps not achieving very, very ambitious goals. And,
you're probably not the only one. I think that's pretty common.
Yeah, look, I'm sure I'm not on my own there, but I don't know, like and I've got to be a bit gentler than myself, and I've got to probably pat myself on the back when you achieve the milestones, not just the sort of reach the summit. But there's I definitely feel like there's unfinished business there, and I kind of had undulating success in business before this, before 5 years ago, and I've sort of seen the highs and seen the lows, and I want to make sure that this one really sticks.
Yeah, I like it, Sam. I think there's a lot of tension that comes with, wanting to create at a certain level and then not tripping yourself up. So I think kudos to you, mate, to have the success that you've had. We see some of it, but obviously there's a lot more behind closed doors where the magic happens. And so kudos to you for being able to continue to move forward and have the impact that you're having. And like you said, some of the feedback from clients is all positive, and mate, you're doing a really good thing. And the reason I wanted to put that question to you was I find that some of the folks that I've spoken to, whether it's on air or off air, I think what's becoming increasingly more apparent is it's too easy for us all to be tripped up by what we're scared of. And I think it's a real human condition to kind of just be aware of certain things. But as soon as that becomes, I guess, as soon as our thinking over indexes on, those concerns or those fears, and, talking about comparison, maybe it's just the fear of not being loved or respect or whatever it might be, if you don't do the right things with that tension, then it can go the other way. So I think, what you're doing is a really good example of working through that. And I suppose for people that come through the program and are trying to change their fitness, their health, in some way, or their mindset, often some of the hurdles are, things they're afraid of. So I appreciate you sharing there.
So, mate, just on that,
yeah, please.
The thing that's been most liberating for me is, like, when I applied to go on The Bachelor, I was it was a client of the gym was saying you should do it, and I sort of did it thinking I'll never get on the show, but I'll do it just to keep this client of the gym happy, who would pester me to say you should go on that show, Sam. Then when I got told that I'd been chosen out of thousands of blokes or whatever it was, I remember thinking, shit, I don't really know what I'm doing. Like, I'm not really prepared for this. I don't know what I'm doing. But I jumped anyway, and it's been the best thing I ever did. Like, it was bloody hard and, sort of emotionally and psychologically really challenging, particularly, the positions that you get put in and never being on TV before and all this kind of stuff. But because I met Snej and now my life has changed so much, it's totally taken the shackles off. Like, if anyone now comes to me and says, should I do something? I say, you got to, like, think about it. Don't be daft, but like, if it feels right, you just got to jump. And it's just been such a liberating experience for me. And I absolutely believe that my ability to help people take that plunge and the success of my business since taking that plunge aren't a coincidence. Like, it's actually let me learn firsthand how powerful it can be when you do leave your fears behind or burst through them, or however you want to put it, and how big the upside can be, that I can't, quickly enough encourage other people to do the same.
Well said. Really well said. And a good place to finish, mate. But before I let you go, just two quick ones for someone tuning in that wants to optimize their fitness, their nutrition, or their mind. Do you have any sort of takeaway practical tips, maybe one or two things as a good place to start, or just to start considering and see if there's an opportunity there for these people?
Yeah, look, I definitely think if you're not trying some kind of mindfulness, try it. Jump on Headspace or Calm or whatever, one of these brilliant sort of apps. Or I don't think you need to go to meditation class or anything necessarily. There's some awesome sort of digital options there. I'm a massive believer in moving in the morning. I think from an energy and a mood perspective, for my brain, not for my body. It's good for my body, good for my muscles, good for my heart, good for my lungs. I'm moving the body for my brain. I can't believe how much more clarity, creativity, energy it gives me. I'm a nicer person to be around. I've got more energy for my kids. I just reckon it's a total game changer. I always used to sort of work out in the afternoons and, get to it if I could or whatever it is. I think it's because of the kids getting, my body clock kind of wakes me up at 5:30 or whatever it is. And I just get up and go for a run with the dog or the kids in the pram or do a little workout in the garage or whatever it is. And it just sets me up for the day. So if you're not a great energy person or mood person, or you run out of time to do that workout that you promised yourself you'd get to and it just never seems to happen, I'd suggest moving in the morning.
I like that. Yeah, I find that is a massive variable for my own energy levels, and I'm sure people would agree. You know, you get movement in the morning to set you up for the day.
Yeah.
Plus, you do something hard in the morning, you have a level of self-respect that just sort of carries through the day as well.
Yeah. Oh, there's so many physiological and psychological benefits. And people think you have to do an hour at the gym. You don't. 20 minutes at home, if you're following the right program or doing the right exercises and pushing yourself a little bit, just getting a bit uncomfortable, you'll feel amazing.
And so, how can people connect more with you, Sam? How can they find what you're up to, and of course, learn more about the 28 by Sam Wood?
Yeah, sure, mate. Or if they want to find out more about my program, just go to 28bysamwood.com. And if you want to shoot me a message, if you've got any, if you need any tips or anything like that, probably best just do it through my Instagram, mate, which is just at Sam James Wood. Any fitness tips or any tips that you want on anything, or you just want to say good day, send me a message for sure.
I love it. I'll get the tech guys to put the handles up on the screen or whatever, and I'll put them in the show notes, and happy days. So really appreciate you carving out the time, Sam. I feel like I could talk with you for hours, mate, but I'll let you go, and hopefully we connect again in the future, mate. Appreciate it.
Likewise, mate. Feel the same and have a great day. Thanks very much.